now with your decisions about where you go, and you know, I can't remember where I heard or what read it, but it was about you had an idea about wanting to go in a certain direction, but I think it was to do with your yoga teacher or something, and it kind of, you know, the right situations.
Yeah, what happened is I decided that it would be good to do yoga, and instead of going into, you know, a studio or something like this, I'm like, I'm just going to focus on that I want to do yoga, and I'm looking for a good teacher, and just put that out there. And I spoke to a few people, and I just spoke to a friend of mine. He's, oh yeah, and then I know this girl, she does yoga, and that we did one together, and it was great, and that's how that came about. And getting all the little kinks and tight areas out, and lack of mobility and flexibility that you get from doing years of weight training. Although I did do some stretching for legs and so on, so probably I started with a better base, but my mobility was pretty bad, like as far as being able to rotate and things like that, because you never do that at all. And my balance was terrible. I couldn't stand on one foot without falling over all the time. And because I had also taken in that kind of mentality from the gym, I remember trying to do the tree pose where you're standing on one foot and doing things, and I kept like falling over, and I was like, fuck! And the yoga teacher's like, Dorian, fuck is not a yoga word. Stop trying so hard. Just relax and breathe and do it. Don't try to get to the end, because that's, you know, what I'm used to doing. So in yoga, it's, if you try too hard, you just make it harder. So you're going to learn to relax. And I learned that's kind of like life.
Right.
When the stressful periods come along, we start to tense up and it doesn't really help, no. You know. So try to, like, that stormy period comes, try to like relax a little bit through it. So I think I took a bit of that. I'm not saying I'm 100% an expert on that yet. Still get stressed out, but I handle it a lot better than I used to.
I guess it's like using that energy like you did in your training. You know, you had that aggression from your childhood.
Yeah.
You channeled that and almost used it. I don't know what that alchemy, turning one thing into something else. Yeah, it sounds like you've done that a few times.
Yeah. I guess I learned early on to do that, and early on
fighting it.
Yeah, and early on I learned to kind of have to look after myself. So I had that independence there.
Yeah.
And so my training is totally different now, but my lifestyle and my goals and needs are different also. So I've learned to be more flexible, and I think most of the people I know in the bodybuilding game, they just continue to do that training because it's what you know, it's what you're familiar with, and maybe at some point they need to consider some other things as well.
Yeah.
As you get older, having huge muscle mass is not the main thing you need. More mobility and flexibility, and making sure you don't have joint pains. I've got pretty badly damaged AC joint. I had torn bicep, torn tricep, very little cartilage in the left knee from all the leg training I did, some wear and tear on my hip. But I have absolutely no discomfort, no pain, no anything. And my mobility and everything is greatly improved. I've been doing yoga for about 2.5, 3 years. So I just feel great. I feel my body feels, you know, like I can do pretty much anything apart from lifting heavy weights, because my shoulder joint's damaged, so I don't do that.
Yeah. It sounds like you've always been a bit of an innovator, like even back in the bodybuilding days, your style, your look, your approach on camera, and even now, and I suppose if pulling back again the parallels in business, you know, you can't stand still, and you've always seemed to have done things against the grain.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Dorian does the things his way, and I always ask why. That's a big thing with me. Why? Squats are the best things for legs. Everyone says, why? Like, let me try to do something else. I did believe that until squats. I damaged my hip, so I had to try and do something else, and I discovered you can do it another way. You don't need to do squats. And everybody was training 6 days a week and 20 sets and all this stuff from the Arnold area. And it didn't make sense to me. I read Arthur Jones's writings, who's the guy that built the Nautilus machines, and looked into the real science of muscle building and so on. And Mike Mensa, of course, that carried on that high intensity training. So it made logical sense to me. And then when I applied it in the gym, and keeping notes and so on, I got very good feedback from day one. I noticed that if I trained more often, or if I increased the volume in the gym and the time in the gym, I stopped progressing. I stopped. Okay, so let me take a couple of days rest and go back to a more abbreviated routine, only training 3 days a week, no more than an hour, boom, start growing again. So there's the feedback.
3 days a week.
3 days a week I was training initially when I first started training, because I was working a job as well. Right. And I couldn't recover training more often than that. That's what the feedback showed me. So I listened to it. Later on, training for Mr. Olympia, I was training 4 days a week. And maximum 1 hour in the gym.
Wow.
But people struggle with that because they don't understand the key. The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise and the fact that you're progressively overloading and you're giving your body something that it's not used to and it needs to react. Right. Muscle growth is just a reaction to a stress that the body's trying to protect itself from. So you're giving it stress. You're making it lift these weights and work out of its normal capacity. So now it's going to try to build itself a little bigger and a little stronger to cope with that stress in the future. So that's very basically the process.
That's 3 to 4 days a week, and that's quite incredible. You know, looking at some of the training programs that you get now, and I guess you've built the biggest. I suppose, you know.
Proof's in the pudding, as they say.
That's right, 4 days a week. So there's a good lesson there.
Because I was going into the gym and absolutely hammering with intensity, right. Not with volume, with intensity, okay. To absolute failure, positive failure, negative failure, static failure, absolute failure, destroying the muscle. Then you need to go and rest.
Right.
Yeah, this is the process. Stimulate, overload, recovery. After recovery, overcompensation, growth. Okay? So if that recovery period is not sufficient, you're not going to grow. If that stimulus period is not sufficient, you're not going to grow. So there needs to be a balance between all that intensity and recovery period. So if you're going in and you're training legs and you're hammering your legs and you're breaking them down and you're damaging them and they're sore, right? And then 4 days later, you go and train them again and they're still sore and still damaged, how are you going to get anywhere? You're not really getting anywhere. Right. Or you're getting, you know, your body, as I said, year and a half, whatever you do is going to work. And after that, then you need to get smart about what you're doing.
And would that apply to, say, you know, someone like a female that just wants to get, you know, a nice bikini body, or a guy who just, you know, wants to, sharpen up a bit? Would those same principles apply to anyone?
If you want to build muscle, this is the best way to do it.
Right.
If that's your goal. So if you're a lady that wants to build muscle, which will help you lose body fat, by the way, ladies, yeah? Because when you build muscle, it's like putting a bigger engine in your car. Just sitting there, ticking over, it requires more fuel. So instead of starving yourself to try to lose fat, what's going to happen when you starve yourself? You generally lose muscle as well. So now your metabolism is getting slower. Right. So that's why you just get into this whole cycle of losing weight, putting weight back on, destroying your metabolism. If you're a lady and you want to lose fat, build the muscle. Use weight training to build the muscle, and then you will be burning the fat because you require more calories. You put a bigger engine in your car. So whether you're a woman, a man, doesn't matter. The same principles apply. What will be a variable factor in there is your recovery ability. So somebody may be able to train legs and be fully recovered and able to go in there after 6 days or 7 days. That's about average, I would say, if you train really hard. But somebody else might have a poor recovery system, genetically. So they need to rest a bit longer. Somebody else might be a super recoverer, and he might be able to train more frequently. So there's a variable factor in there that you have to take into account. A person's metabolism, their lifestyle, are they taking performance-enhancing steroids and things like that, which enhance your recovery? All these factors need to be addressed. But in any case, that's the structure. Stimulus, recovery, growth. So it needs to be sufficient stimulus, there needs to be sufficient recovery period and materials to build with, i.e. your diet, and then your body can get bigger and stronger. So that's a basic format.
Yeah, but for the average person who just wants to, get in shape, what most people would call shape, then you're probably doing more is probably not going to help you at all.
Less is better, apart from effort and intensity.
The effort.
So average person, split your body into 3 workouts, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but non-consecutive days, train your whole body over 1 week, and that's a good starting point.
Right.
Maybe you can do more, maybe you can do less, and you need feedback to see that. So if you've got a trainer, that's what you should be doing, or if you're doing it yourself, make notes, see, are you progressing, or once you get to be very advanced, you've almost reached your potential. So these gains are going to be very, very small. But I'm talking about somebody that's not at that stage, first year or second year of training. If you've trained for a month and you've seen 0 progress on your weights, on your reps, on everything, what's going to happen next month? Exactly the same, right? So if you haven't progressed for a month, something needs to change. Don't keep doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting, right? If you don't progress in a month, do exactly the same the next month, you'll get exactly the same results, 0. So you need to reassess things if you're not progressing. Right. Something needs to change. Maybe it's your diet, maybe you need more rest. Whatever that factor is, you need to look at it and try and find out what it is.
And with your cardio, would you get that in the way that you're training? Because I've seen some of your workouts, and you don't seem to have any oxygen left to do anything. Is that?
Well, leg workout is definitely cardio taxing.
Yeah.
But I'd probably do a couple of separate cardio workouts as well. And what I'm been doing now, what I believe is the best way to do cardio, because long drawn out cardio has negatives to it.
Really?
Yeah. If you're running, you're wearing your joints. Also, you're producing free radicals when you exercise. So if you can get the benefits of increased cardiovascular efficiency without producing too much and without wearing yourself out too much, that would be the best way to do it. And what I've been doing is intervals, different time periods, but one example is like 1 minute, moderate cardio. So you could use a rowing machine, you could use a cross trainer. My favorite is the air bike, the spin, because this, you're pushing, pulling, and you're using your legs at the same time. So every muscle is working on there. I like it, but I fucking hate it. It's just so taxing, so I do a minute, normal, moderate pace, and then 20 seconds, absolutely, like your life depends on it, absolute all out 20 seconds. And then you drop back down to a minute, normal again. Do that about 5 times. What's that, 5 minutes? And so like 6.5, 7 minutes. Yeah. Amazing cardio workout. That's all you need to do, a couple of times a week. Trust me, you'll hear it from the scientists in a few years' time. Yeah. Because
you were like, I know they talk about HIIT now.
I was doing HIIT weight training, but now you've got HIIT interval cardio, and I think that's more efficient than the long cardio as well. Unless you're practicing a skill or something like swimming, kickboxing or something where you need to do repetitive movements to get that pathway in your brain, then that's more skill, that's more practice. But I'm talking about just the efficiency. I think you can get it in very short bursts. Yeah. And who wants to be all day in the gym, Yeah. Let's get in, let's get it done and get out.
Well, I think for someone to be to your level, saying that, if you want to get in shape 3 to 4 times a week is enough, apart from the intensity.
Look, the main thing that I hear from people is I don't have time. Yeah. And I say to them, if I had you for 45 minutes twice a week, I will transform you. That's all I need. As long as you do the homework, eating properly and resting and all this stuff, I'd do probably 10 minutes interval cardio like that, and 30 minutes fast-paced to failure weight training. Right. And that would probably work much better than going in 4 or 5 times a week and piddling about. Yeah. And being in the gym I went to the gym training for 2 hours. No, you wasn't training for 2 hours. Because if you train with me, training, you will be begging to get out of there after 30 minutes. Yeah. And I won't allow you to have your fucking phone with you either.
No, that's very interesting. And there's some, I guess there's a lot of sort of, fitness trends that come out all the time. But I think that I've trained for years, 30 years, and I probably do too much, to be honest.
Hey, if you get one of those kettlebells and you do, in the past I was doing kettlebell swings for 10 minutes. As many reps as I could do for 10 minutes. So I would do maybe 15, switch to this one, 15, maybe another 15, and put it down and breathe. And my goal was to do 300 reps over time. So it never took me more than like 10 minutes, 10 and a half minutes. And that was an amazing workout. And I've had bodybuilders try to do that with me, and they couldn't complete it. They couldn't finish 10 minutes. After 5 minutes, they were on the floor, they couldn't breathe.
Wow.
So you don't need a lot of time. If you did that kettlebell workout twice a week,
yeah.
If that's all you had time for, 20 minutes a week, you'd have amazing fitness and also some muscular development on the quads and the glutes and lower back and everything, because you're throwing the weight up.
So when you're now late 40s, 50-year-olds, the same principles apply again? Just someone like yourself, outside of your yoga, would it?
If you're asking me a bodybuilding, muscle building specific training, then yes.
Yeah.
But you may have to adapt it because you may have some physical injuries or limitations as you're getting older. So you have to adapt certain exercises you may not be able to do, but the principles still apply. Yeah.